Om. Gayatri Mahamantra with your back straight. Om Bhurabhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya. We come down straight upon the Gayatri Japa. The enormity about Gayatri, the science of Gayatri, the understanding of Gayatri runs into volumes. We shall try to unfold some of it to the limited capacities of this teacher. But before that, the practice of Gayatri should not wait for the knowledge to unfold. Therefore, right at the outset, I have undertaken the practice into consideration in the initial part of this series. Now, you are ready for the japa, Gayatri Japa, as a sadhak, with your rosary in hand or without a rosary, with the consideration of time. You have already calculated this much time it takes me to accomplish 108 mantras. Now the point comes, when I immerse within myself, where should I focus my attention? That's a very important question to answer. Now, initially, you don't have to worry much about that attention because your attention would be quite engaged to monitor and ensure that your pronunciation is complete. Because you may not be that proficient in repetition of that mantra, you may be knowing the Gayatri mantra since long, but when it comes to the incantation or japa, I'll use the word japa because incantation has many other meanings which probably may not associate with us. So japa, I'll say. So when you come down to the japa, then of course you come across certain problem because you're not able to repeat the mantra again and again with that amount of clarity, and there remains a doubt at the back of your mind whether I was able to chant the complete mantra properly or was there any amiss. So that doubt certainly remains. Therefore, in initial stages, your focus of attention should remain upon the pronunciation of the mantra. Maybe you are murmuring it within yourself, but you are also going to ensure that each and every mantra which I have pronounced, chanted, or japa has been complete and perfect without any miss. So when you ensure that, then the next level comes, which probably should come within a couple of days from the day you start your practice, you start your observe, you start your sadhana. And that is, now the mind has its own inherited tendency to wander. And it wants to wander irresistibly, uncontrollably. It wants to wander uncontrollable, I'll say, not controllably, uncontrollable, and it wants to wander upon its own kind of voyage, unmindful voyage. And this occurrence is absolutely normal because most of us, almost, I should go on to extend this blanket to almost all of us, barring very few upon this planet at any given point of time in physical dimension, we have this problem that our mind is irresistible and we cannot hold on to one particular thought or thoughtlessness for a prolonged period of time. So therefore, this is nothing abnormal. It is very much normal. To bring it under control is, of course, a very difficult task and cannot be brought into control in absolute terms. But yes, for specific interludes, we can certainly bring the mind to control during japa. Now, what happens actually is, as it goes on within all of us, the mind goes on to an autopilot mode. And we all understand what is autopilot mode. The assignment is given to one part of the mind. The awareness then apportions itself into different parts. One part of the awareness is apportioned to ensure that the japa continues. In between, if there is a doubt that arises, then you will assign your complete attention to ensure no, everything is going smooth, perfect, no problem. But otherwise, awareness will apportion itself to different assignments, as I said, to the wanderings. You go on to recall or anything. I cannot term the classification for the avenues of the mind is countless. As it's the magnanimity of its might, so is the directions towards it can charter, unknown, uncharted, or charted, wherever. Now, mind will have its own dispensations, japa and wandering, and it goes. This continues for a fairly long period of time. At times, sadhak start complaining. I sit down for japa with all sincerity. Initially, I was able to focus much, but now, since past few weeks or days or months, I'm observing. I sit down for japa, but when I sit down for japa, my mind starts wandering and I have no control upon it. And the only thing I can recall is the count of my japa. And at times, even I become oblivion to the count of the japa as well. But I sit down with my thoughts running, the silent brain chatter goes on, and I conclude with the same mood. I don't feel accomplished. There is a sense of being inconclusive, as if I'm just beating the bush, doing something without any purpose. Am I doing the right thing? Let me first of all give you an endorsement. You are doing absolutely the right thing. Remember one thing, I should mention it right in the initial stage. The science of Gayatri works upon two primary principles, although I'm going to repeat the same lines again in other episodes as well. But let me mention it here itself. The science of Gayatri functions upon two platforms. One is the science of sound. The sound is converted into its own subtle dimension. That's what we call it japa. Silently it emanates from you into the cosmic mind. And the other part is when you contemplate with the bhava. And that is when you concentrate upon something within yourself that we term as dharana, which I'm going to come down today itself. So these two things, when they combine, they undergo a fusion. And that fusion generates such a tremendous amount of energy which the seeker benefits. But to create this fusion, one has to accomplish perfectly for the pronunciation and at the same time focus of attention upon something, maybe which I'll come down right now, any kind of a dharana. It may take time. And for example, I'm saying it example. Why example? Because the time varies with different people, so you cannot be very firm to establish that this is the kind of time, amount of time which it shall take you to conclude when this fusion starts. It may happen so that you continue your japa for about 1 year or 2 years or maybe more, and yet you're not able to accomplish that kind of conclusivity to focus your attention while the japa moves on its own pace. Even then, you are cherishing the purpose of Gayatri Japa by making use of this science of sound. Sound is going to generate its own kind of energy, which is absolutely inevitable. It is bound to happen. So be ensured, even it takes you 2 years, 3 years to come to that conclusivity where you are able to create a fusion of your contemplation, the focus, and the Gayatri, the sound, the science of the sound. Even till that extent, you do not remain unaccomplished. You certainly cherish the purpose of japa. Of course, yes, the pace will alter altogether. It will become like adding rocket fuel to your upasana when both undergo a fusion. But till then, must tell yourself, it may be so that I have not been able to focus my attention during japa. It may be so that I find there is kind of an inconclusivity within me, but yet I am not getting up empty handed. I have accomplished, I have been able to comply to the discipline of the japa on the same place at the same given point of time, and I've been able to benefit along with the discipline with the science of the sound, the benefit of the sound energy which it has been able to produce in the subtle dimension with or without the focus of my attention. So, having said that, I have removed that kind of a doubt which may intervene in order to thwart your attempt, your discipline to continue upasana even during the moments of total inconclusivity. Now, is there a solution to that, that we can facilitate that fusion to happen by way of being able to focus our attention? Yes, there is a way. There is an ancient technique which we have, and through that technique, what we do is during the movements of our japa, we cast our awareness into such a mold. Now, recall my words. We cast, C-A-S-T, cast, our awareness into such a mold that we term as ishta. This is a Sanskrit word ishta. And by being able to cast a mold of ishta, then the focus of attention begins effortlessly. Now, it can happen wherever, whomsoever, and whenever. That is the science of ishta. Is an ishta science? Yes, ishta itself, ishta dharana by itself is a science. It can be accomplished wherever, on whomsoever, and whenever. Now, coming down to the ishta, what is ishta? Do you know the meaning of ishta? Generally, people into the spiritual parlance and associated with the Sanatan Paddhati will say, yes, my ishta is that Lord, this Lord. You will have one of your ishta devata. The meaning of the word ishta is different. The meaning of the ishta is a deep desire, a deep yearning. You can term it as something which is insatiable yearning within you towards something, that is ishta. That is why it is also used as a suffix with several words like Ishtadev, of course, Ishtamantra, Ishtamitra, Ishtakamana. So the word Isht means a deep longing, a deep desire, a deep yearning. That's the meaning of the Ishta. Now, you have to give to yourself an Ishta, something that you deeply desire for. It has to be in the form of a symbol. The science of idols, according to ancient Indian wisdom, is a symbolic representation of virtues that have been brought into pictorial form so that we can associate with ourselves with those virtues. Because forces do not have faces. We give them faces so that we can facilitate ourselves in order to comprehend and connect with those subtle forces which otherwise are not visible to the naked eye. So, making use of the science of the Ishta Dharana, what we do is we give ourselves, before I say proceed for the Ishta, let me also tell the antonym for Ishta is Anishta, which is undesirable. So now you understand what is Ishta. The science of Ishta Dharana, Dharana means affix your attention upon something. The subject could be anything, could be from the nature, it could be in a human form, it could be anything, depends upon you. Even we also give ourselves as cow as a ishta. So ishta means something you deeply desire, deeply yearn for, and dharana is something upon which you affix your attention. And that it could be any subject from nature or wherever. Now, going by this science, this trick works very well. I said trick. Why? Because this trick has further percolated down even upon this mortal plane, and all those people who are into the marketing worldwide have been making very well use of this trick of Ishtadharana. How do they do that? They cast the mold of your awareness towards a particular object, particular brand, or particular product by way of creating its awareness into you and trying to bring it before you again and again. When they try to bring that same subject, object, or a product before you again and again, what are they doing? They're in a way trying to establish, ground that particular subject, object, or a product in your subconscious mind so that effortlessly it percolates down into you and you start feeling connected with it. And once that connect is established, then whatever they want to flow, they can easily pour down into you. That's how they make use of it. But here we are going to make use of that same science for a very exalted purpose, for a very higher purpose. Here, the great masters of our unknown times have given to us the Ishta Deva for Gayatri as the sun, the rising sun. I'm coming down to the exact subject now. The rising sun. The rising sun is the Ishtadev of Gayatri. The rising sun means the orange ball. That orange ball has been accepted by our great masters as the Ishtadev of Gayatri. So, what we have to do is to make use of this science, of this contemplation. We have to focus our attention upon that the ball, the orange ball, while we are also observing Gayatri Japa. The Japa is going on within somewhere here, and the contemplation upon the rising ball is over here, right in the center of your eyebrows, both at the same time. Japa continuing inside deep within, and the focus of attention upon the rising sun, the orange ball over here. That is what we term as jap or dhyan. Jap or dhyan. So both happen together. The japa and the contemplation, the meditation, they both happen together to create a fusion. Now, how do I bring that orange ball into my imagination to such an extent that it becomes affixed over there? And effortlessly, whenever I want to recall, whatever period I want to recall, wherever I want to recall, I can retain its image. Very simple to do that. It's not very difficult. How do I do that? You have to bring the picture of your choice, which means you have to search the internet, choose the picture of your choice of that rising sun, the orange ball. Once you give yourself that picture, now that picture must be in front of you every now and then. And the best mode to do during this complexity-ridden life of today, eased in for this purpose, is upon a cell phone as a screensaver or whatever you call it as, upon your laptops, and if possible, then you may also deploy it as a picture, take out a printout, get it framed, and deploy that picture in your bedroom or a space where from you pass over again and again during the day or even during the night. I'm saying if it is possible. If it is not possible, you do not have to contest for the posters around you. But yes, of course, that is very much within your control to have it on the mobile. Whenever you are about to interact with someone, it's there. You have to first of all cross over it. When you're going to visit your mobile phone for anything and everything, it's there. So let that image ground into you. That is what we term as dharana. Dharana is a very broad subject, and it holds so much of significance that you will be surprised if I give you a small information upon that. Under Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali Rishi, there are 8 limbs of that yoga. And the most important is dharana. After the outward discipline, that is yama, inward discipline, that is niyam, then the posture, asana, then the breathing exercise, bringing the prana to order, prana, yam, niyam, asana, prana, then withdrawal, that is pratyahar. Then comes dharana. So dharana is the sixth, and dhyana is something which you don't do. It ultimately, the dharana transcends into dhyan. The last is samadhi, which you're not going to take much into consideration at this moment. So dharana holds lot of significance. So much of significance that it has been placed in the 8 rungs of the ladder at the 6th rung. So that's the 6th rung, and we have to make use of the science of dharana by the science of Ishta. Therefore, I combined both together by mentioning the science of Ishtadharana. So here, the Isht is going to be the orange ball. And dharana is when you affix your attention to that. That ongoing process to affix your attention is dharana, and the Isht is the selection of that particular subject object which you have given to yourself as a Ishtadeva. So Ishtadharana is the rising ball. Say for example, it may happen few people say that we are more comfortable if you give us a human form to associate with as an Ishtadev Dharana. Then yes, it's all for the facilitation of the mind to focus upon. So one can also give to oneself the female Devi that we term as, because the power according to ancient Indian wisdom has been understood as feminine. So give yourself a female Devi as Ma Gayatri. There are beautiful pictures available for Ma Gayatri with a swan as its vehicle. You can find them on the internet very well. The vehicle is also beholds a lot of significance, which we certainly are going to come upon in the later course of these episodes. You may even select that you are more close, you become more close, you come to more proximity, you associate with self with that deity as a mother, and with the deity as a mother, like Ramakrishna Paramahansa with Kali. So I can associate myself more with Devi. You can even choose Ma Gayatri, the image of Ma Gayatri, as your Ishtadharana. So it's upon you. It's totally upon you. If you choose the rising sun, the orange ball, then during your moments of contemplation, you have to also imagine. Initially, it's all in imagination. Yes, it's all in imagination. But then that imagination by repetitiveness concretizes. And remember, this technique is equally deployed not only by the sattvic experiments under spiritualism, but even for the most occult ones. The techniques remains the same. You have to give yourself a Ishtadharana and then get immersed into it. If it is the rising ball, then the imagination must exceed to the limits where you assimilate the energy, the effulgence of the sun to such an extent that you yourself become the sun. You undergo the total dissolution. The chanting goes on within, chanting means the japa, not exactly the chanting by constructing the word, but in the silent form. And at the same time, you yourself undergo total dissolution into the light. Still, the mind may wander, because the magnanimity of the mind is huge. But you get a resolve whereby, even if you practice Gayatri for 10 minutes, you can create interludes in between, say 3 to 4, prolonging up to 1 minute each, whereby you can undergo total dissolution. So, if I conclude it roughly, there's nothing which I can simply morph it into, but if I roughly speak, certainly in 10 minutes you can create a caveat by an interlude of 4 minutes in broken form, where you were under total dissolution, where the fusion transpired. So that is a very good bargain if you are able to conclude even with that. It's a very good bargain. Bargain with whom? With the wandering magnanimity, uncontrollable, irresistible mind. It's a very big bargain you get in that. So this clarity in your perception in absolute terms is most important, and that is what is dharana. Having said that, you must remember the science works upon the principle. Your intellect may intervene to say everything is happening on the terms of imagination except the sound. Yes, it's imagination. Remember the old principle, जाकी रही भावना जैसी प्रभु मूरत तिन देखी तैसी. God shall manifest according to the belief that one beholds or strongly holds. And the same understanding has been very well made use at the ephemeral levels by the known terms as law of attraction, etc. They have made use of it on ephemeral levels, whereas we are going to make use of this science and make it transcend into more esoteric dimensions. So, right from today onwards, your exercise starts. Select for yourself and give yourself an image of that orange ball. Make it a screensaver on your laptop, on your mobile phone, wherever you want to deploy it, wherever it comforts upon you, and then ground it to such an extent that the most effortless thing that should become for you is to recall its image whenever, wherever, and upon whomsoever. Whomsoever, even if you are watching a glass of water and you want to sight that effulgence into it, you can see that. The mind has the ability to cast the image it beholds within upon anything. It can project itself on anything. And there is a great science of that also. If you behold an image within yourself, at times, even if there are changes brought outside in the physical world, you are not able to observe those changes. You go on superimposing the image you held within upon that outside dimension. And there have been so many examples which people have now understood, working upon the abilities of the mind. So you too can do that. So when I say wherever, whenever, and whomsoever, I am concluding with the meaningful sense whomsoever, that you can, if for example you're watching someone's face and you want to see it on that face, so your ability should transcend to that level that you can even see the rising ball on his or her face. So that makes whomsoever. When that state arrives, then effortlessly during meditation, it comes before you. You immerse into that rising sun, into that orange ball, and you're able to prolong that period of thoughtlessness, create that fusion of this energy of sound with this contemplation, energy of contemplation, bhava, and benefit out of it. Is that right? So first things first, the search for that orange ball is the foremost. Do that. If you want to associate with Ma Gayatri, search the image. Whatever. You may change the image as a screensaver on your mobile or laptop once the image grounds within you. But till that period, observe yourself with the premonition you're undergoing a special kind of a preparation that entails this discipline. Is that right? Okay. Much to come. Share it with like-minded people. There are very few whom you can share with. I know these people, these kind of things cannot become viral, but share it with those who are like-minded so that they can also benefit from it. Om hi satya hai. Yeah, before I conclude, I try to give the points of each and every discourse in the description on the next day, not on the same day, but on the next day. And I've also mentioned my email. If you want to have any kind of a query regarding this understanding, do mail me, and you don't have to worry about anything. You are not charged for all those things. Within my available limited capacities, I'll try to resolve them under the blissful guidance of my master who exists in the subtle form. And my email is info@dineshji, DINESHJI, Jalandhar, India.com. ओम ही सत्य है, ओम ही सत्य है, ओम ही सत्य है.